All right, folks. Today we've got a certified love coach and host of the Love Drive podcast, which is awesome, by the way. And I saw a video that Shaun, I'm going to give away his first name before I do the full introduction, but his name's Shaun, put on his Instagram about the importance of taking it slow, getting into relationships, and was like, wow, I got to reach out to this guy, get him on the show. And here we are. So, Shaun Galanos, thank you for slowing down with us and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here.
And such a pleasure. So let's start here. What is a love coach? What an amazing title you get to walk around with in your email signature. What is a love coach? Tell us about what you do for a living.
Yeah, Love Coach is a coach that helps people connect to love. So it's like a coach for your heart, I guess.
Mm,
Um, I think a lot of people, including myself, have struggled with love and relationships.
they're
Uh,
hard.
and yeah, they're hard. Yeah, they're hard, especially since we don't really have good role models. Most of us didn't have a lot of great role models in that department. We also don't have much relationship education. I mean, that actually doesn't really exist
Mm,
as a category for education. And yet somehow we're all supposed to know how to do relationships well with love and compassion and respect and talking about our needs and our desires and not even to mention sexuality and consent. And so how are we really supposed to learn all this stuff on our own
crazy.
without fumbling? Yeah. So I work with people, and a lot of my background is in communication,
Mm,
and I
mm,
really feel that that is the best tool that we have to ask for what we want and to check in with other people about what they want.
mm,
And it's the best tool we have to get our needs met, which, if you're listening to this, you might not think that you have needs, but we all really do have needs.
mm,
Needs for food safety, water, air,
mm,
shelter,
mm.
companionship, community, play, exercise, love. Like, we do have these needs that are
Right.
primordial, and the best way of getting those needs met that I know is to figure out what they are and then to ask for them. So that's a lot of the work that I do, is around needs and around feeling fulfilled in relationships, and to like have a good time in
Mm,
your relationships.
imagine that. Hey,
Yeah, let's have
having
fun.
it. That's possible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It should be mostly fun. I
Mm,
think
mm.
it's definitely hard, but also fun.
Right. And ain't that true? Most things that are hard are good in some ways as well. It's twofold. Okay, let's dive into this slow relationship thing. So most of us know somebody, or maybe personally, we are that person where we meet someone, we like them, and all of a sudden we're going 0 to 100 in 10 seconds. Um, I guess let's start here. Why do you think? What's the rush? Like what drives people to jump into these things? Obviously, relationships are very serious things, right? Where does that rush come from?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I've been there. I've definitely been there. I'm a fool that rushes in really really quickly. In the past, I've changed my tune in the last like 4 or 5 years, but um, I think it comes from a combination of things. One of them is sort of FOMO, right? Fear of
Mm,
missing out, and wanting to like lock that person in,
mm-hmm,
right? Because if you're interested in them, there's a good chance there are other people that are interested in them as well.
right.
So there's a competitive edge there where you want to like get the
Mm,
gold.
right.
So there's that. There's also this concept that I work with, which is that people think that the romantic relationship will save you from the existential loneliness of being a human.
Wow. And it doesn't.
It does temporarily.
Mm,
It 100% does temporarily, especially in the honeymoon phase, when
yeah.
you feel that you've found your person
Mm-hmm,
and that they are going to love you perfectly, and you can finally, you don't have to worry about relationships anymore.
mm-hmm,
You're done. You did it. You got your relationship.
right.
And now you can focus on your career or your family or your, football team. Like you're done. You're done with that part
The
of your
heavy
life.
lifting's done, right?
Heavy lifting is done. You've got your relationship. You're no longer going to be alone. You're not going to be sad. And that is true for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that perhaps is why the divorce rate is so high? Why so many relationships and like fail? Is that we go in, there's this honeymoon phase. It's good, good, good. We think that'll last forever, and then at some point that comes to an end, and we're like, oh shit, this isn't what I thought it was. I'm gonna run away, or the other person does that exact same thing.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, people, a lot of relationships end after the honeymoon phase because it's not exciting anymore. And people aren't willing to adapt to the new situation, right? A relationship
Mm-hmm.
is a living thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it changes over time as the people that are involved in the relationship change over time.
Right.
And so when we're talking about marriage or long-term committed relationship, there's a commitment to our own personal growth, right? There's a commitment towards supporting the other person as
Right.
well for their own growth. And then there has to be a commitment towards the relationship. What are we building together? And are we willing to adjust to the fact that our relationship will change over time?
Mm.
It's not going to be endorphins and oxytocin and feeling high the whole time. There's
Right.
going to be disappointments. There's going to be having to negotiate, having to compromise, having to meet in the middle, learning your partner's conflict style, learning
Mm.
about their traumas, why the things that you do trigger them, and how you can adjust to that. It's a lot of work. And I think a lot of people don't think that it's a lot of work.
Mm.
And when they get to that phase, they go, yeah, I don't feel like doing this. This must not be the right person for me. It should be easier than this.
Mm.
And so they start over and they meet the next person, and it's honeymoon all over again. Butterflies,
Rinse
we're
and
flying
repeat.
high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So lather, rinse, and repeat. And you can do that for the rest of your life if you want.
Wow. So it's this perpetual pattern unless we slow down, which is what we're talking about today, and bring awareness to some of these patterns. So say we just met somebody and things are going well, things are going really well, but I think that they feel like they're moving at a good pace. How do we know if things are moving too fast?
Wow, that's a great question. How do we know when things are moving too fast? First of all, the speed is relative.
Mm.
So there's no guidebook that says, after
Right.
after 2 weeks, do this. If you get this answer, go
Right.
there.
One date a week. Yeah.
Turn to page 67. It's not a choose your own adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So speed is relative, which is why I don't ever really want to give, actual time, absolute time on,
Right.
this is how you're moving too fast. This is why you're moving too fast. What I would suggest instead is build a big life that does not revolve around this new person, so that you can't possibly give them too much of your time or too much importance in your life.
Right.
Right. So that means building a career that you're proud of, maintaining and fostering the relationships that you already have, right? Friends, family, etc. Volunteering, right? Giving back, taking care of your body, right? Regular exercise, exploring meditation or spirituality if you're interested in it. Like playing sports, having hobbies, right? So this is if you have a full life, you can't possibly spend 4 nights a week with a new person,
right?
Because you have other commitments in your life. So that actually places a natural barrier that's not artificial, that doesn't rely on, I can't see you more than 3 times a week.
Right.
Because if I see you more than 3 times a week, then it means that I'm moving too fast. So build a big life that prevents you in a way from moving too fast. And that way you don't really have to worry about whether you're moving too fast or not, because you're already busy.
Right. So
that means you have to have priorities.
Continue living your life.
Well, continue building a big life, because sometimes living your life and building a big life are 2 different things, right?
Right.
If
Right.
your life doesn't include uh, sports and exercise and volunteer and career and friends and family and spending time with nephews and, maybe having a dog. I'm not saying you need to have all of this stuff, but if
Mhm.
it doesn't include any of that, then what you have is a lot of time on your hands.
Right.
And then it becomes really hard to understand why someone's not texting you all the time or why you're not spending all of your time together
Mm.
because you're available. How come they're not? So I don't even want
Right.
to go there. Like, don't even
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah.
Have a big life so that you don't really have to worry about that, about having too much time on your hands.
Okay, I love that. That's great way to go about looking at it. But okay, how about if we're in a relationship with, or not in a relationship, we're building a relationship with someone, we just met them, whatever, very recently though, and we feel like they're pushing us to go too fast. They're asking questions like, "Are you seeing anyone else?" And we have the awareness that I think this is moving too quickly. What steps do we take in that situation to slow things down without, maybe we do really like this person, we just think it's moving way too friggin' quickly, to slow things down in a healthy way? Or do we just abandon because we're just at different paces?
Yeah, I think you could have a conversation and say, "Hey, I really love getting to know you, and I have the impression that we're moving a little too fast for my taste.
Hmm.
I want to continue hanging out with you. I'm not comfortable answering that kind of question yet. That's definitely something that I can do in the next couple of weeks. But like right now, like I'd love to spend maybe 1 or 2 days with you a week as we continue to get to know each other to see like how good of a fit we are.
Hmm.
So we don't have to abandon ship right away. We don't have
Right.
to
Right.
scream red flag and run for the door.
Hmm.
She wants to lock me down. We could just have a conversation and say like, "Hey, I get the impression that you're super excited about getting to know me, and I am as well. And this pace feels too fast for me.
Hmm.
It takes me a little while to warm up to people, and while I am warming up to you, not at this speed."
Right. Right.
Then
Oh,
figure out what happens. Like, how do they respond to that? Well, actually, that doesn't make me feel comfortable at all. Like, I really want to see you more, and I want to know if you're dating other people.
mhm.
And if someone wants to know if you're dating other people, I don't think there's a problem telling them the truth.
Right.
Someone asked me once, like, "I want to know how many people you've had sex with." And I was like, "Do you really want that answer?" Yes. Okay. What is that going to bring you?
Mm.
It'll
Yeah.
help me know what kind of experience you have. And then I can make a decision whether I'm comfortable
Mm.
disclosing that information. And I could say, "You know what? I'm actually really not comfortable disclosing that right now.
Right.
That's not something that I want to talk about or share with you at this point in our relationship." That's not to say that I won't ever discuss it with you, but
Yeah.
right now I don't know you enough to feel comfortable doing that.
Mm. Yeah.
So the barometer for whether it's too fast lives inside you.
Mhm.
What could be too fast for one person could be not fast enough for another person.
Right. Right. So
And
everybody's different.
everybody's different. And generally, we should slow things down, right?
Mm. You're saying
Slow
as a whole, relationship as a whole, we should
life
reel
as
it
a
in a little
whole,
bit. Life as a
life,
whole.
life
Oh, I
as a
love it.
whole. Less work, more rest. Slow down, do less things.
Yeah.
Less multitasking, including in dating. Let's multitask dating.
Right. Um, I love that you just brought that into the meta away from just relationships. I agree. I think that, when we slow down, we have the ability to, first of all, like actually appreciate things that are going on, get out of autopilot, where we're just go, 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 go. And kind of step back and have the awareness to see the bigger picture of what's going on around us, what patterns we're going through when we're in autopilot. And it sounds like I had never really thought of it in a relationship context before till I saw that Instagram video that you put out. But it sounds like it's not much different. When you're going slowly, you can kind of appreciate the natural progression of the relationship, as opposed to just, 0 to 100. Well, let's put a ring on it. Let's, meet the family. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? Like the ability to appreciate the development of the relationship through slowing down.
Yeah, I see that sounds nice, right? And that's
Yeah.
probably like a side benefit of slowing down. I also think that we don't slow down because the early stages of a relationship are incredibly uncertain and uncomfortable.
Mm.
And if I ask her to marry me and she says yes, then I will know that she loves me. And I don't have to worry about the uncertainty. We will be together.
Right.
So your brain gets to relax, right? Because our brains don't like open loops.
Mm.
Brain wants to keep you safe. That's its primary purpose, keep you safe. And so especially in like a coronavirus time, there are a lot of open loops,
Right.
which is why we're feeling a lot more stressed out and tired, because our brain is working harder trying to come up with all the possible different scenarios for how it's going to keep us safe.
Right.
And so in the context of a relationship, in early stages or even years down the road, we're always kind of wondering, is this safe? Is this certain? Is this gonna go the distance? And that's a hard place to be. And so I get people wanting to rush through those phases so they can get to something they can count on. But you and I both know, the divorce rate being what it is, even if you're married, you can't count on the fact that that relationship is gonna
Right.
stay.
Right. There
A
is no
relationship,
certainty.
no certainty, right? So can we live with uncertainty in relationship and in life? And you and I both know that in meditation, it doesn't happen in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation doesn't happen in the brain, it happens in the body.
Right.
Can we get out of the brain and down into the body, into the present moment, into the breath, so that we're not living in our brain and that we're not doing these, million of calculations of how is this going to end up?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the beautiful benefit of slowing down is that we spend less time in our brain trying to think about how is this going to work out? How is this going to play out? How can I control it to be the best kind of relationship for me? And just like, resign from the debate society completely and drop into the body, where in the body you kind of know like everything's fine.
Right.
I'm not going to die
Yeah.
from uncertainty. No one, it's not going to kill me. Enjoy the slow process of getting to know somebody at the key of how this relationship is going to go.
Yeah, I'd love that. And sorry, you cut out for a sec there. And another thing you said in your video that I was like, oh my God, that's gold, is you said we should be seeking clarity rather than certainty. So what do you mean in saying that? Like what do you mean by clarity versus certainty? What's the distinction between those two things?
Clarity is like asking somebody how they feel about you. Certainty is knowing how they feel about you, right? So if you don't know how somebody feels about you, you can ask, hey, I'd love to have a conversation with you about our relationship and how we're doing. And I want to share with you how I feel about you. And I would love to hear how you feel about me. That's clarity, right? You have, it's murky. You don't know how they feel about you. So you're going to seek clarity.
Right.
Certainty is, I know how this relationship is going to pan out. I know how we're going to end. I know where we're moving to, where we're moving towards. You can get clarity on that, but you can never really be certain. And just like when you ask somebody how they feel about you, they can tell you, so you have some clarity. Can you be sure that they're actually being honest? You can't really. I mean, unless you eventually you get to know the person, you get to trust the person enough that you do trust what they're saying. But I would strive for getting clarity around the issues that you want more clarity on, and let go a little bit of the certainty of how your life or your relationship will go, because we don't have any control over the future, and that includes the future of a relationship.
So, okay, how long do you think it does take before we truly know who someone is?
Oh, I think the research says minimum 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Of, engaged, communication and connection.
Right.
So you're deluding yourself if you think that after having met somebody for 3 months, you know them and you're ready to commit to a lifetime with them,
Right.
or 6 months or a year. And that's not to say that those relationships don't work out. Some of them do. You know, you'll always find an anecdote for someone that, you know, a couple that met each other head over heels, sparks flying, married a few months later. Now it's 30 years later and they have 4 kids and they're happily ever after.
That's
You know,
great.
like
Yeah. There's
you'll
always
always get that.
exceptions.
There's
Yeah.
always anecdotes to co-sign your theory.
Yeah.
And it takes longer than that to get to know somebody.
Right. Right. And okay. And why do you think it takes so long?
Because we're complex and because we're not rushing in. So we can only see each other and connect so many times per week. And all of that is not just getting to know someone. A lot of that should be like rest and play and fun and sex. Like it's not all interview style getting to know someone.
Right.
And intimacy is built slowly over time. Right. So there are some things that I will not share with you, Mitch, because I don't know you. But if we continue to chat on a weekly basis, you and I would get to know each other.
Right.
Slowly over time, and I would start to trust you, feel more comfortable. I would disclose something and I saw that you responded to it in a positive way. And then I'll go, okay, well, Mitch is feeling a little bit safer, you know, so I'm going to disclose something else. And then I'm going to judge to see how Mitch replies or responds. Okay, he does it. And so we do this. It's reciprocity over time, small disclosures, and you can't rush that stuff. Right. You can't rush it, or else it's called puking on somebody's shoes. And it's 2 people spending the whole weekend together, sharing their deepest, darkest secrets, and then at the end feeling like they know the other person. I know them. You know, they are good, they are safe, we can do this. But you don't know them. You know what they've shared with you.
Right.
But you don't know the collection of stories and traumas and experiences and how their parents treated them, and you know, the 3 ex-girlfriends that cheated on them and the effect that's going to have on a long-term relationship. And right, so there's just so much to know. We couldn't possibly do that in a short amount of time.
We're complex. We are complex beings.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is something that I tend to gravitate towards slow when I meet someone. And I, you know, through digging in, I think it's because I'm naturally having an avoidant kind of attachment pattern. How do we know if our desire to pump the brakes is actually just us being avoidant and that kind of shining through, or if it's, you know, coming from a more secure place?
That's a tough one.
So it's a big one, I know.
Yeah. Have you done any therapy?
I have. Yeah.
So I think working with a therapist can help you really figure out whether you're still playing into your avoidant patterns or whether you're actually wanting to slow down. I guess the question here is actually more along the lines of like, do you actually want to continue building something with this person?
Right.
Because if you don't, then your avoidant tendencies kick in and then you have a reason to disconnect. But if you actually want to continue, then pumping the brakes might actually be a good thing. Is slowing down a good thing for the development of the relationship?
Right.
Or are you just scared that someone's getting too attached? Right? These are the questions you have to ask yourself as you evaluate your behavior to figure out whether you're running because you're scared of getting trapped, or you're wanting to slow down because you want to prolong the commitment.
Right. Like where's that coming from? Dig into where that drive is coming from to slow things down.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you feel like running away because you want to like escape this situation because you're suffocating, well, that sounds like some avoidant behavior. But if you're wanting to slow down because you want to preserve the connection and you want to nurture it in a more sustainable way, then that sounds like wanting to pump the brakes for the sustainability and the survival of the relationship, the connection. How does it feel in the body also?
Love it. Going back to the body. By the way, I love how when I asked you that, you first went to, have you seen a therapist? I love how in your stuff you talk about, like, you're a huge promoter of seeing a therapist regularly,
Yeah.
as well on the relationship, specifically on relationship stuff. Not to sidetrack too much, but can you just talk a little bit about what you think the power of having someone that you can kind of just let it all out to on a regular basis is?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's really not about letting it all out.
Mm,
Healing happens in relationships.
mm,
So the relationship with the caretaker, the parent child relationship is the first relationship that's where we're molded right into the people that we are, and also
right.
that's where we begin the wound, right? The core wound usually comes from the caretakers,
Mm,
and that is often a wound that uh, we will attempt to heal through other relationships, often in very um, roundabout ways that aren't very effective. And the relationship between the client and the therapist, if you're with a trained mental health therapist that knows what they're doing,
mm,
is an extremely healing and safe place for you to explore some of the childhood stuff.
right.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be childhood stuff. It could be adolescent, it could be early adult stuff. If you had a great childhood growing up and your parents were fully available and present and they validated all of your emotions and experiences, that's great. And you still could have had some traumatic early adult relationships with maybe a string of relationships where they always cheated on you,
Ooh, right.
right? So you start to lose trust in other people.
Mm,
So the therapeutic relationship between a therapist and a client is healing in the way that you explore these traumas,
mm,
these wounds, and the therapist will use a variety of different models to help you heal that stuff. So it's less about dumping all your shit on them, and it's more about
right.
exploring, your fears, your traumas, the things that you're ashamed of, the things
Mm,
that embarrass you, your anger outbursts and where that comes from,
mm,
and then them applying proven psychological models to help you heal that stuff. So the healing happens in relationships. The therapist client relationship is particularly effective
yeah.
because of their competencies in mental health.
And just giving you that safe space. I love that. So it's less about puking on the shoes, as you said earlier.
Yeah, it's not about puking on the shoes. I mean, puking you can puke on the shoes of your therapist, and they'll be able to they should be able to know what to do with that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Like when we're slowing down, I'm wondering what kind of things should we be evaluating in our partner? If there's you say it takes 2 years. Oh, I lost you there.
I'm back. I don't know what happened. I'm back. My USB just kind of
Oh,
crashed.
really? All good, man.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah, we're good. Um, oh, anyway, so I was asking, what kind of things do you think we should be evaluating when we are, it takes 2 years to get to know somebody. What kind of things should we be evaluating as we slow down in the progression of this relationship?
Is the person kind?
Mm,
Are they caring? Are they compassionate? Are they funny? Are they respectful? Do we have fun together? Do we want the same things? Right? Do they want a long-term relationship? Do they want friends with benefit? Do they want, just a
kids, yeah.
hookup? Do they want kids? Do they want kids? Um, how do they feel about money?
Mm,
Are we lined up with our values? How do we feel about politics? How do we feel about abortion? How do we feel about taxes? Um, do we like their friends?
mm,
Do they like our friends? Where's their family from? Like, how do they spend their time?
mm,
Where do they want to travel? Where have they traveled? Right? There's a lot of things that we can be
So much.
curious
Yeah.
about that helps us identify whether this person is a good fit for us.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So literal, in short, everything.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
And
I don't
then,
know, not sure what my video. Okay, it's
oh,
back.
there we go. Yeah, right on. Welcome back. Yeah. So, okay. So literally everything, just be digging in, asking questions and learning.
Yeah, but do it organically.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Like not
So
interview style is what you're
yeah, it's
getting at
not an
there.
interview. We're just like we're having fun getting to know somebody.
Right.
Dating should be fun.
Right.
If it's not fun, then take a break. If
Mm,
dating is a job, then stop doing it,
right.
because meeting people shouldn't be a job. Having a relationship shouldn't be a job. It should be fun. It should be exciting. And should be a little scary, but
Mm,
it shouldn't be a job.
right.
Which is why, like, if you're really, really, really struggling with this stuff, work with a therapist
Mm-hmm.
to explore what's underlying, because there's
Mm,
often something blocking, something preventing you. And it's, the tough part is that when you're young, now we have access to a lot of advice,
right. So
right?
much.
And it could be really confusing
Yeah.
because a lot of the advice is conflicting.
Mm,
So that's why, talking about slowing down, therapy is a incredibly slow process,
mm,
but it's effective. What you learn in therapy and what you heal in therapy, you often keep it for the rest of your life. Whereas an Instagram or a TikTok video, it's like a goldfish. You forget it 3 minutes later.
right. Right. Amazing. Well, I was going to go somewhere with that, but I slipped my mind. Um, okay. So do you, Shaun, believe in love at first sight?
No, because I believe that love is an action, not a feeling. Love is something that you do, it's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that you feel. Infatuation, excitement, butterflies, lust,
Mm-hmm.
excitement. I already said that one. Passion, bliss, horny. These are all like physiological feelings,
Right. Right.
physiological responses in the body that we often misconstrue as love. Love is choosing to, my favorite definition is by
Mm-hmm.
M. Scott Peck, which is the extension of oneself for the spiritual growth of another,
Mm,
right? That doesn't have anything to do with how you feel in your body.
mm-hmm.
Conscious decision to grow with another person. So, can
Right.
you do that at first sight? Absolutely not.
Right.
That's incredibly detrimental. You have no idea who you're looking at. You know that they look pretty, that
Mm-hmm.
you're attracted to them, and your body's probably giving you all sorts of bells, and some of them are alarms. And
Right.
a lot of what you're feeling is a cocktail of hormones, and that doesn't, just because you feel that doesn't mean that that's a good person to be in a relationship with.
Mm, yeah.
Oftentimes we are attracted to something that feels familiar,
Mm,
and oftentimes what feels familiar is not necessarily what we need or in service of our growth.
mm,
It feels familiar because it reminds you a little bit about how your mom wasn't available when you were young,
right.
or reminds you a little bit about how dad was never around
Mm-hmm.
because he worked too hard, right? And these things can feel really exciting
Mm-hmm.
because subconsciously, I think, and I'm not a therapist, subconsciously, I think that we are attracted to these people so that we can go and heal the parts of us that need healing. And we think, oh, this person's going to help us do that.
Mm.
And for the most part, they don't. They can, but they
Right.
don't.
That's not usually how it goes.
That's not usually how it goes.
So is that why, there's the classic example of the girl who's like, I only ever get in relationships with cheating douchebags. Is
Yeah.
that right there why she
Yeah.
feels that way?
Yeah, probably. And you can't really control who you're attracted to or who is attracted to you, but you can absolutely 100% control who you choose to engage with, which is why it's so important to slow down so you don't rush into a relationship with someone who's not good for you.
Just
Right?
based off the hormones.
Just based off how you feel, yeah, and how good it feels. And like, I want to
Right.
be clear, it feels good. It feels great to
Mm-hmm.
be around someone that like elicits that kind of physiological response. It feels like a drug. And why would we not want more of that? Because a lot of that isn't good for you in the long term. Just
Mm-hmm.
like, cocaine is great for 15 minutes and then really bad. Like, it's not good for you in the long term, but it feels really good in the short term.
Right.
And it can be really hard to say no to that, which is why slowing down allows us to have a little bit more perspective on, is this person actually good for me?
Right. Right.
Before you get too like trapped or entangled in the intoxicated feelings of this person.
Gotcha. Oh man, I love that. And not to jump around too much here, but I did think about the question I was going to ask you that jumped out of my mind, and it was going back to when you said that if dating feels like a job, take a break because it should be fun. Is what you got at there, and which made me think, why would dating feel like a job to these people? And do you think that's going back to what you talked about before, is like they're attached to what they think it should look like? They have all these expectations, and things don't typically go according to the Disney picture that's in their mind. And, and then that's hard. They're like, this never goes well for me. It never goes as I expect it to go. And I don't enjoy it. Do you think that plays a part in it?
Yeah, I mean, being disappointed about how things end up is
Mm-hmm.
hard. It's hard to get excited if your last 7 experiences were getting ghosted. It's really hard to like garner any sort of excitement to continue putting yourself out there. Also, there's a lot of people that act really shitty, and that's sort of par for the course. Right? There are shitty people out there and they are on dating apps, or they're in the world and they also want to date.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is the people take that kind of, say it's toxic, but but some of it unhealthy and immature. They take it personally
Mm-hmm.
when it's not personal. It's not they're not doing it to you. They're just doing it, and you happen to be there. You happen to be the recipient of the week.
Right. Right.
But once you remove yourself from that, remove yourself from everything that they're doing, you'll see that it's not about you. It's sit with.
Oh man, amazing advice. It's not about you, and sit with it. And that was another thing you said in your video, was we have to learn to just sit with the discomfort of not knowing everything. And, just to tie everything in that we kind of talked about, is that we want certainty, and there's no certainty when you're, trying to get into, or not trying to get into, but exploring relationships. There's no certainty in that. And just like with meditation, sitting with the discomfort of everything that's going on in your body, in your mind, doing that process when getting into relationships and building relationships is not much different. It's hard, but it's super valuable.
Yeah, man, we gotta learn to let go. The only thing that's certain in life is that you're gonna die, and that the government is gonna ask you to pay taxes on a yearly basis. I mean, that's really it, right?
That's
Death and
all.
taxes. That's all you're guaranteed in life. You're gonna die. You're gonna pay taxes,
Right.
and neither of those things are fun. The rest of it, you have very little control over,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've got control over your actions and your reactions. That's it. You don't have any control over anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You barely even have control over your career, right? I mean, you can influence your career because of your actions and your reactions,
Mm-hmm.
but how people perceive you, the results that you get, sure, your actions are going to influence that, but you can't control them.
Right. Right.
I can't make people like me. I
Mm-hmm.
can't. I can be likable.
Right.
I can't make people do anything. I can't make anybody who doesn't want to be with me,
Right.
which is why when you accept the fact that somebody doesn't want to be with you, you can start healing right away. But when you are in denial,
Mm-hmm.
you extend the healing process because you're in standby mode.
Mm-hmm.
You're not healing, you're just like you're on ice.
Mm-hmm.
You're on ice and nothing's happening and you're just hoping that they're going to want to be with you. And the reality is, for the most part, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to be with you and they're not coming back.
Right.
I'll just say this right now. If somebody broke up with you or ghosted you or doesn't want to be with you, uh, and told you, believe them.
Right.
They don't want to be with you and they're not coming back. Just accept it and move on.
You're not going to
But you
change their
can't
mind.
move. No, you're not going to change their mind. You can't move on without accepting. That's step one
Right.
to everything in life. Accept that this is happening, that you can't really change it. I mean, you can beg.
Mm-hmm.
That rarely works. You can bribe. That rarely works. There's all these sorts of like manipulative tactics, and there's a lot of books online and a lot of courses online that will tell you how to text your ex back, how to get your ex back, how to do this, how to do that. All that stuff is manipulation.
Right.
And it's preventing you from healing, which all you need to do to start healing is to accept the fact that this situation has happened, and the best thing you can do is accept it and be sad. Feel whatever comes
Sit
up.
in that. Yep.
Yeah, sit. I mean, that's what we're doing in therapies. We're sitting with the emotion, not distracting ourselves from it.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, I love that. First step is acceptance and just sit with it all. Okay, this is the final question I ask all guests on the show. It's a deep one, so take a few moments to think if you need, Shaun. But the question being, if you could send a message to the version of yourself who is at absolute rock bottom, the lowest point of your life, what would that message be?
I mean, I remember rock bottom Shaun. I mean, one day at a time, it does get better. It does. It really does. And it also takes a long time.
Slow process.
It's a slow process, but slowly over time, your life will get better. And don't compare yourself to anybody else. Just compare yourself to you 6 months ago. You'll see the process. You'll see the progress that you've done.
I love that, man. Yeah, just slow and start wherever you're at. All right, Shaun, thank you so much for doing this. This has been awesome, digging into relationships, slow relationships. I know I've gotten a lot out of this. I'm sure the audience will as well. But where can they go to connect with you, follow you? I know you're all over Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at The Love Drive, thelovedrive.com or ShaunGalanos.com, ShaunGalanos, or just Google The Love Drive. And I've got courses on dating, sexuality, healthy communication. I'm running one right now on confidence, how to love your body and own your power. And I have got a course on flirting that's also really, really fun. And so all of that lives online at The Love Drive. And it's been a pleasure talking with you, Mitch.
Man, absolutely. Thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you do the same.